What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Conspiracy or Just a Coincidence. I am Jack Allen. First, go follow me at Kojak Podcast. If you are not following me yet, maybe you just found me after I had the Nick Hinton on the show last night. Got a few new followers from that, so I hope. So if you're new there, at COJAC at Kojak Podcast. And that stands for, if you didn't know, Conspiracy or Just a Coincidence. And I am Jack Allen, everybody. You want to support the show? I've got a few different options. You can support it. I have a Patreon and a Venmo and all that stuff. And my at Kojak Podcast is the Venmo. Conspiracy or Just a Coincidence is the Patreon. And David Robert, thank you for coming. Can you guys hear me okay? I don't know. I'm just worried. Like yesterday, so I had this great show with Nick. David was there. He's such a rock star. But and so on StreamYard where I record, you get 50 hours. Skeptic, what's up? Can you guys hear me okay? Just sorry to ask again, but I'm just worried. Does it sound all right? But if you could just put in the chat if you can hear me okay. But so you get like 50 hours of recorded time, and I always perfect. Thank you, David. And it always I always will delete the ones with guests on, but I never the ones my shows I have, because I always worry like if I get kicked off somewhere, I have all the perfect. Thank you guys. But I'll save mine. So I'm always at like 46, 47 hours, and then I'll delete. And then, and last night, so I was so excited to have Nick on the show. Colorado Dank, dude, what's up? If you guys aren't following Colorado Dank, dude, put your handle for your Instagram handle, because I forget. He is an awesome guy on the occult. So go follow him if you're not. Brilliant guy. Nick Hinton show, I was so happy. I was like nervous, excited. My wife was in the other room listening. She was like, oh, it was so good. I go to publish a show, and because I didn't delete the last episode, StreamYard wouldn't allow me to record the episode. So then I was like, all right. I'm freaking out because Nick said something about a lot of ambulances being a reason of some, what. And I'm like, oh, shit. YouTube is going to take this off. I have to get this done. Oh, thanks. So Colorado Dank, just so you guys seriously go follow him if you're not. It's Colorado_Dank 99. Hell yeah, Skeptic. I hit back today, and also I do the laundry. I'm the laundry man at the house, and I haven't folded anything. Traps are the new abs. But yeah, so it didn't record. So I'm freaking out. You're not freaking out, but I'm very nervous. And so I say, okay, I will play it off my computer. It'll catch my microphone. Fine. It's an hour. We'll just be silent. And so, I do it for 40 minutes. And I was my house is so creaky, even though it's a new house, it wakes up my dog. If you go to the bed at 4 a.m, or if you go to the bathroom at 4 a.m, which I do, I have like a horrible bladder. I try to walk and the whole house, even though it's a new house, 2 or 3 years old, it's like, no matter where you go. And so, so I'm just sitting, because I got stuck just sitting on the toilet, as many, men do this. This is our peacetime time where you can be left alone. You can close the door. And so I'm listening to it. I'm like, all right, great. It's going to work. I come in at 40 minutes. The show's going to be done. And none of that worked. So now I'm freaking out even more. I tried a YouTube to MP3 converter, which I used to do. I'm sure you guys are older. You guys remember stealing YouTube songs and putting them on your iPod. But so I try that. Fails. Now I'm freaking out even more. So I had to set up my phone. And so if you guys didn't hear the Nick Hinton episode last night, check it out. He's a brilliant guy, and it was a great show. But the quality is because I had to play it off of a Bluetooth speaker onto the microphone. But luckily it all worked out. So today I'm recording in 3 places, so this never happens again. But dude, I was so angry. I was up till 11:40 doing this. And if you guys don't know, I'm in bed by 10:30, dude. If I'll get grumpy. And if I don't get because I got to get up at 5 for Charlie, my dog, who just wants to bark. And this is the thing too. He'll bark. I get up. Liv, she can sleep through anything. She doesn't hear it. So I get up, being the loving husband I am. And then he'll start yawning and stretching. I'll have to carry him down the stairs. And then I'm always saying, Charlie, why did you wake me up if you don't want to go to the bathroom? But it was just so stressful. So Jeremy was there last night. Jeremy, you would, and Colorado Dank, you would have a great conversation with Nick Hinton too. But, and a skeptic as well. But Jeremy Crow, you would love talk. You guys would have a lot to talk about, Jeremy. And I think you could push back on certain things. So definitely go follow him, Jeremy, if you're not, and I can try and help organize that meeting if you want. But anyway, all right. So that was the show last night. That was good. And so today I mentioned it last night. I started reading a book called Rosicrucian America. And I didn't expect to do a show tonight. I didn't expect to have notes tonight. And but my bosses were out today. So when that's out, I make a lot. I'm a headhunter, so I'm always making calls. But I make some calls, type a little notes, make some calls, type some notes. So I was shocked, and I was able to get this done, and I'm so excited. So I don't even know how many parts this is going to be, because go read the book. It's not just about Rosicrucianism. This show is. The next one is about how we're going to destroy Shakespeare and how that's a goddamn lie. And then the next part, it's going into John Dee, who I'm fascinated with. Charlie training me. Dude, I don't know how many of you guys have dogs. So, we take him to a dog thing to learn, because I want him trained like like North Korea trained. And so they tell you, like, don't use a harness. Like, you need to put the lead collar on it, like kind of chokes them. And so what was I going? Oh, but I have a shock collar, and Liv's been busy working and stuff, but I got this guy trained so well. He's only like 16 weeks old. Yeah, Dank, dude, this book goes so deep into D, but he's doing great. Like, the trainer said how great he is. And I thought maybe they just say that to everybody. And my friend who has a Dalmatian, Scott, he's been on, we do the show a few times. It's been a while, but he said, oh no, he has a Dalmatian. They don't say that to everyone. But yeah, so he's doing great. He's really learning. He's training well. So that's I want him, like, literally, like, if I say come, I want him to come. And, but yeah, so the book, so I got the notes done. So this is going to be like a lot of clickety split training. Dude, yes, absolutely. But this show's going to be, so this episode is about predominantly Rosicrucianism and Francis Bacon. We talked about Bacon during the pirate episode and Edwin Drake. And this goes into all this same time period. I don't even know how I found this book, but it's an amazing book. And so the next episode is going to be like John Dee, Shakespeare, and I don't even know where it all goes. I'm very excited about where this book goes. But so that's the topic I wanted to do. And I also wanted to do it was when I was on Deborah Gets a Red Pill with Adam and Chud X, two awesome guys. Chud asked me, he said, well, what do Rosicrucians believe? And my answer was, well, they're Gnostics. They kind of believe in the bloodline thing of Jesus Christ and all this stuff. But it wasn't a great answer. So I found this book. I said, perfect. This is what I got to read. And I love it. I love medieval Europe. I'm reading, or I'm listening to the Plantagenets, who ruled England for 400 or 500 years. And it brought up if you guys listened to the pirate episodes, I talked about how the Norman kings ran Normandy, France, modern day France, and England for 300 years. And and the book said they were Vikings, and I never understood like, how are these people Vikings? And that comes into play with this as well. Your dog what kind of dog do you have, David? I would love to. And if anybody else has a dog, tell me what kind of dog you have, because it's always fun. It's like a baby, dude. I mean, I'm exhausted half the time, but he's getting better each day, less stressful. So it's good. It's good. I'm the heavy-handed disciplinarian, but he's a good boy. I ran him before. He says, I'm not going to bed at 7:30 anymore, Dad. I want to stay up late. So I ran him like crazy. So I get this show without him barking up a gosh darn storm in the background. Dogs. But all right, let's get started. Right. So again, Rosicrucian America. And so if you guys don't, the Rosicrucians are so important. They are German Shepherd. Wow, dude. Yeah, you have to have that dog trained so they could be tough. Her dad was from East Germany, mom West Germany. Ooh, you got that's funny. You got a half commie dog. I love it. I love it. That's great. It's great. I bet you have it trained well, David, because they're such that, and that's you have to train the big dogs. Like my sister-in-law and her, they have she's a very nice dog, Daisy, and then her parents have another dog, and they're both Daisy's a little big. She's probably like 20 pounds, but not trained at all, out of shape, fat. I hate seeing fat dogs. I deleted a tweet a while ago, but it makes me so sad seeing fat pets. That's mean, dude. That you're abusing, you're enabling. It's like a drug addict. You have to say no. Don't make your dog fat. But all right, let's get into it. So, Rosicrucianism, and also before Francis Bacon, fascinating guy, super easy to train. Wow, David, that's amazing. You got lucky then. But Rosicrucians, it's not a religion, okay? It's more a tradition maintained by secret societies. And as I've said before, Rosicrucianism, and about not Rosicrucians specifically, but all these secret societies stemming from, I don't know what the first one would be, maybe the Essenes, maybe the Canaanites, around that time. But there is over 35 offshoots of Rosicrucianism, which all claim to be Rosicrucians. And some of these, they have all these different origin stories, kind of like Marvel Comics. You have got 20 different origin stories of different superheroes. But there's some that claim they descended from the pharaonic Egypt. Others say they come from the Templars, which we talked about in the pirate episode, which I like that theory. I think that has a lot of validity to it. And then some say it was founded by a guy, Christian Rosenkreutz. And that one, according to the pirate author, says that's a false lie. He never existed. I lean that way, and we'll get into why in about a second. But regardless, it was started officially, or Christian Rosenkreutz lived around the 14th, 15th century. So he was also, if he was a real person, he was also an adept of Sir William Sinclair, who 15th century built Rosslyn Chapel, who we've talked about so much, who's going to come up in this story as well. Wait, let me just read. Skeptic, I had a Jack Russell, smart and very chill. They're usually balls of energy. Oh, so I'm guessing I'm sorry, dude. Losing pets. That's why I try to remind myself as I sit there at 6:15 in the morning after I just took them out in the 20-degree weather. I try to say, enjoy this. This isn't going to last forever. And I've got 2 cats and I love them to death. I think the same thing. But anyway, Christian Rosenkreutz and those who are running cover or maybe members of the Rosicrucians, they would tell you, oh, no, we're not a secret society, just like Freemasonry. Oh, no. We are just a group who studies philosophy and other banned studies. But really, it's a society composed of intellectually enlightened who believe that is, then listen to this. This I find very interesting. The baseline of Rosicrucianism is that they're hoping to find their goal is to create a new world order. Okay, new world order, but they want it to be ruled by a king. I'm a kind of a monarchist. I say, okay, I like that idea. But this king, he's not just a regular king. He is a king that's going to have supernatural powers descended from the divine race of, I'm going to Atlantis, Tartaria, Templar cross goes to Rosie cross, Rosicrucian. I like that, Skeptic. I think that too. Oh, David, I'm so sorry. He said Sophie has cancer. David, I wouldn't get my dog, you know what, but because of that training, they require it. And my wife, she's leaning, she's a nurse, so she's getting more and more, and she's not listening right now, but she's starting to see as a nurse, she's been propagandized by the schooling system and all that stuff like that. But her, and I don't know if this is TMI. Sorry. Her, what happens once a month has got, and she got off birth control a long time ago. I told her, you got to stop that. It's so bad for you. I wouldn't take something like that. You shouldn't take something like that. But it's ever since, that she was required by her hospital, it's brutal for her. It's brutal. So dogs, do you think they do any extra studies on that? So I totally I believe that, David. And I like to think Sinbad is keeping my grandpa company. Oh, I love it, Skeptic. Oh, it's beautiful, man. Beautiful. Rosalind, thanks for always saying hi to my wife, Rosalind. We were just talking about how sweet you are. Yes, we've all been indoctrinated to believe, David. Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself. So anyway, but that's the dream of Rosicrucians. They want their Atlantis, and they want it to be ruled by a king who has superpowers. They want a Superman, they want a Cyclops, they want a Wolverine to lead the Rosicrucian, this New World society. And most likely, more likely than Christian Rosencrantz and all pharaonic Egypt, most likely Rosicrucianism can be attributed to Francis Bacon. And Rosicrucianism wasn't even the first secret society Francis Bacon created. He created this thing called the Order of the Helmet. And now, what is the Order of the Helmet? Gay name. Oh, damn it. I keep saying that now because I'm trying to stop being politically correct. And I used to say that all the time. Lame name. But the Order of the Helmet was because there is Athena. She's a goddess. She had the helmet of Athena. It was given to her by Hades, and it gave her listen to this. It gave Athena the ability to remain invisible. So now why would Francis Bacon start a secret society that promotes that's symbolized by a goddess, that god invisible? Well, so the name's fitting because Bacon would use this invisibility throughout his life. How did he do that? We're going to get into that. But his members of the Rosicrucianisms were known as, quote unquote, the Invisibles. And the popular themes of the day and the reflection in the literature of time, the Rosy Cross had been a symbol of higher meaning for thousands of years. Okay, so this isn't a new symbol. Martin Luther used the Rose Cross as his emblem in the 16th century. And I was raised Protestant, so I'm allowed to say this, I think. I found that interesting that he used the same symbol as the Rosicrucians. And just wait, let's find out what other groups used the Rose Cross as their symbol. Skeptic, no freaking way. Athena was the goddess of wisdom, aka Gnosis. My soundboard, I unhooked it up because it sucked. If I had the soundboard, Skeptic, I would have went like, ooh, or dun, dun, dun. Oh, Rosalind, see? Look, her dog also. Oh, you guys, see? David says it's on his family crest, as is the Red Cross. The headless knife motif is on the coat of arms of all blue bloods. Interesting. So yeah, the Rose Cross is Martin Luther. This guy, Thomas Lodge, listen to this, wrote a book called Rosalind. Okay. You can see where I'm going with this. What was Rosalind, this novel about? Well, it was a novel examining the dilemma of all those who believed the truth had been lost when the Reformation came to England. In Bacon's book, and I know David's not going to agree with that one, but in Bacon's book, New Atlantis, published 1 year after his death, depicted of a utopia that was very similar to Manly Hall's vision that described a learned society called Solomon's House on the island of Ben Salem. And 16? Wow. That's amazing, Rosalind. That's a blessing. Skeptic says she was also associated with an owl. Conspiracy? Or just a coincidence? Thank you, Skeptic. That's awesome. Awesome little tidbits. But so on the island of Ben Salem. Ben Salem's actually an area in the great northeast of Philadelphia. So the members of this house were gifted by God with the understanding of secrets of creation. And the initiates would wear white turbans with red crosses, and his utopia would have this free sharing of information. So again, this is in his book, New Atlantis. They would wear white turbans with a red cross. I mean, how more obvious do you have to get? And his utopia would have free sharing of information with no cost. That's what New Atlantis would be. And Rosicrucians implored like doctors to provide services free of charge in those of need. Okay, but you see, his utopia had a free exchange of information. Now, when has ever a social I was saying social security? When has a secret society ever, do you think that's what he really wanted? He wanted, oh, let's talk ideas. No, 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 no. When free access, he means when he says the free sharing of information, he hated the Catholic Church. The Templars hated the Catholic Church. The Templars grew, Rosicrucians grew out of the Templars. You can see why this is his utopia. And the Rosicrucian body was knowledge of alchemy, mysticism, Kabbalism. And there's two Rosicrucian figures, the big dogs. We got Francis Bacon, and I didn't know this, Dr. John Dee. Did you guys know that Dr. John Dee was a creator with Bacon? He was a buddy, best friend of Rosicrucianism. I had no idea. And that's why the next episode, when we talk about John Dee, I'm going to blow your effing minds. All right, in my mind, it blew. But most of the Rosicrucian texts, they come from Dr. John Dee. And Bacon was actually one of John Dee's proteges. He brought his work with him to Europe. He studied under John Dee, the guy that John D. Rockefeller. John D. Robert in the 1500s, the guy that created the Enochian language, the guy that was scrying, the guy that was using obsidian to communicate with demons, the guy that communicated with angels and created the angelic language. You know, everybody's dude, I talk to angels all the time. They always give me new languages and new magic to do. David, yes, he was. David says he was the Queen's magician. And just wait, dude. And we'll get into a little bit of John Dee tonight, but I've been looking for books about him. Amazing. All right, let's continue. I love that you guys come in this chat, dude. You guys share so much awesome info. Please never stop. Seriously, I will anytime. I love it. I absolutely love it. He was 007. And remember how Nick Hinton was talking about that last night? I just read it today. So it's synchronistic, like he talked about. Okay. Here I go. All right. Blah, 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 blah. So most of the Rosicrucian texts actually come from Dr. John Dee. And Bacon was actually, Dee was a wizard, an alchemist, a prophet, a writer, a magician, a cartographer. Oh my God. Wait. Who did we talk about? Oh, the Templars. And what were they? Oh, they were cartographers and all members of secret societies. He was also a spy. Again, I brought this up so many times, but the fact that John Dee was an occultist, a magician, but yet a spy, just like Aleister Crowley, just like the one Nazi guy who fought Aleister Crowley possibly in Scotland when they had a secret meeting. He's an ugly Civil War general. He would have big orgies. We talked about him before. Come on, somebody help me out. Who's the guy? He was a big Mason, big Freemason, Albert Pike. So again, these ties between the occult, secret societies, and spycraft are so linked, so tuffy. What the hell is that? So closely. And I was reading David's 007 is 2-ball cane. David, can you please explain what that means? Because you're the second person that said that. Jeremy Crow says, plenty of cultists who refuse to use the Enochian anyway. Michael Aquino, another perfect example, Jeremy. Michael Aquino was intelligence officer, founder of the Temple of Set. And so just like David said, John Dee was a confidant of Queen Elizabeth I of England, the Virgin Queen, serving as her astrologer and in many other capacities. He actually was the one that told her to institute a Royal Navy. And Dee had a famous sigil. It was called the Mona Hieroglyphica symbol. And it basically, let me just pull it up. I mean, it's only 10 of us. Who cares, right? John the Mona hieroglyphical See if we can just, oh, there it is. Okay. Monas. That's what it's called. Sorry, guys. Just so you guys can see a photo of it. But this is John Dee's, let me see here. Was this? Oh, here it is, right here. Mona hieroglyph. Let me just share this so you guys can see. Tubal Cain. Oh, is Tubal Cain the great grandson of Eve, son of Cain? Thank you, Jeremy, and David for bringing it up. So here is the Mona hieroglyphica. So he would put this on like everything, I guess. But you see, you got the little moon here, and I guess what is this? The feminine symbol, which we're going to get into way more. But it contains the moon, sun, elements, Aries into one odd figure that accompanies text that has defied explanation. It's been in all these books and stuff like that. Oh, my notes are there. Geez, someone's going to steal my notes and you're just going to take my show. But the Mona symbol could be said as like a signature symbol of D, and the inclusion in various manuscripts, books, that he wouldn't put his name on, just like Francis Bacon, but this was how like his buddies were like, oh, that was written by good old John Dee. You see his sigil there? And Dee and Bacon, they create this underground tradition of quote unquote free thinkers, aka New Agers. And it was very dangerous with the Catholic Church at this time, as you guys can imagine. So this knowledge, amazing. Sorry. Oh, David, or skeptic, don't worry about it. Sorry. Tubal Cain was said in the Bible to be the first artificer of metals. Esoteric folklore says that humans learn to work with metals from fallen angels, so it's presumed that's where Tubal Cain got it. It's a Masonic symbol. The Facebook F is stylized version of symbol was derived from the 007 when it was written. Looks like spyglasses or two balls and a cane. Dude, Colorado, you and Jeremy would, you're not going to like what Jeremy calls himself, Colorado, but you guys would hit it off. Maybe I should have both you guys on the same show one time. Well, we're going to do that. And so this dangerous knowledge of free thinkers was called sub rosa, as in under sub, beneath the rose. Where does this come from? Well, this goes back to Roman times. They pick, this is huge. They pick paint big roses on the ceiling. And like, this is where Las Vegas got what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. When it had what happens under the rose stays under the rose, as in, just like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And then in the Middle Ages, the rose suspended over the tables of council meetings, meaning the same thing. You're subject to secrecy. Modern times, and David, you're Catholic. Please confirm or deny if this is true. In my confessions of Catholic churches have carvings of roses, assuring the confessions that will remain secret. In Bacon's, the rose cross was the same secrecy. It made the sub rosa. It was secret. Many of these writings were penned in secret, remained hidden, but some were for immediate publication. So Dee was in Elizabeth's court, as David said. And he had her ear, her courtiers. He was the queen's astrologer. He influenced her in more ways. Oh, David, I'm sorry. I thought you were Catholic. I thought that's what we were talking about. I apologize, dude. I don't know why I thought that. I thought the one episode you were talking about the Pope. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that. I don't know. You know what happens when you assume, buddy. You know what happens when you assume. But yeah, so Bacon's had the same thing. Dee, he was his court. He even Dee picked the date, time, location, or date and time of Elizabeth's coronation, and convinced her that England had rights to the. Yes, I remember you were an atheist, David. So, but I just so the original cone of silence. I like it. But he picked the coronation. He convinced her that the England should have the rights to the New World. I wonder why John Dee would say the New World, that him and John Dee are trying to, or him and Bacon are trying to create, and he's got power to the monarchy. And I'm surprised. It's shocking. He's saying, that's ours. That's our land, Elizabeth. Oh, God. And then the strong Navy part. And then from then on, literally from John Dee's recommendation, that was the beginning of Britain's ruling of the high seas. And he also told her that King Arthur's Avalon, that this Avalon's like his utopia, was also in America. And Dee wrote topics from Rosicrucianism, navigation, anything. He was a brilliant man. And this is more next episode, but I'm just going to say this. So John Dee, he was friends with Robert Boyle. Robert Boyle, it's Boyle's principle with like gas and a canister. I don't know. I was never good in physics and chemistry and stuff like that. And Robert Boyle was an occultist. He was a Rosicrucian, but we don't view him that way. And there's a few, Newton, member of the Royal Society, which was the Invisibles that Francis Bacon created 120 years earlier. What do we view Newton as, a Freemasonic occultist? No. So why do we view John Dee that way when they were doing the same thing? And it's interesting. I haven't gotten that far of why yet, but yes. So brilliant man. He also had over 4,000 books in his estate, a crystal ball that he used to tell the future, and a magic mirror to help talk with spirits. And so I don't know if you guys know this, but you're actually not supposed to have a mirror in front of your bed, because demons and the mirrors, there's something occult power to that. And they can come in and they can watch you and stuff like that. So just a funny thing or interesting. And the works between Dee and Bacon became the basis for the Rosicrucian tradition. So some literary works that reflect Rosicrucian themes. Just like today with Hollywood, with these celebrities who they promote occult rituals in their music videos, or how Beyonce has an alter ego, Sasha Fierce, and Nicki Minaj channels something. The pop culture at the time, many of these people were Rosicrucians. And so, for example, there's this book called The Revolt of Angels. And it was written in 1914. I think so. And it says that it's like a fiction, it's a little bit of both, but it's basically, it says how the fallen angels have taken on human form, preparing to topple God, and has Lucifer, and Lucifer was the good guy, pretty much. 1719, a guy, Daniel Defoe, he was a political dissident. He was the guy that wrote Robinson Crusoe. Now listen to this. So he wrote, I haven't read Robinson Crusoe. Listen to this. Listen to this. So Robinson Crusoe, think Robinson Crusoe, R-C. Crusoe is short for line, I think. And it's a German word. And his first page of Robinson Crusoe, he writes, I was called Robinson Kreuznauer. Now, whose name does that sound like? Oh, Christian Rosenkratz. And it was a little similar, like I said, and also Crusoe. Crusoe in German means cross. So you can see how this goes. Jules Verne. I love Jules Verne books if you haven't read them yet. But we have all written Robinson, but none of them would have seen the light had it not been famous for this famous prototypes. And this shows that writers have disguised characters, even in these days. This movie symbolism, this movie's winks and nods to the occult, this was not new. These writers would, they were Rosicrucians, they were into the occult. They would never explicitly say this, but they would make these little winks and nods, just like Jules Verne. And this shows writers have disguised characters that fully identify characters that would only be known to the initiated. R.C. Christian, Georgia Guidestones. David, what are you telling me? The guy that built the David Guidestones, that's his name? D. Scrying Mirror was a piece of obsidian from the Aztec Empire. Jeremy, I know that. And just so you guys know, obsidian, it's a very sharp metal. It was only found in the New World. That was what they were. They would get them brought back because Spain also used occultists, and the obsidian they thought had magical properties to communicate with demons. And that's what John Dee and Edward Kelly used obsidian to communicate with the angels. Verne was also a Freemason, and he was very familiar with Rosicrucian doctrines, and he was also in a group called the Fog. Okay, weird name, right? Weird name. Well, he said the Fog was connected to the Rosicrucians, and was the Fog. It's connected to Rosicrucianism, and the most well-known character in this book, and in one of his books, Phileas Fogg. Totally by chance, I'm sure that he's a member of a secret society called the Fog, and his famous character is called Phileas Fogg. And get this, Mr. Fogg in this book, listen to this. This is insane. Mr. Fogg, he's a member of a group in the book called the Reform Club. Totally coincidentally, I'm sure that, the Freemason Jules Verne, who secret society called the Fog, named the guy the Fog, and who this Fog was a member, or it was in the Reform Club or whatever. The Reform Club, same initials as the Rosy Cross. And Jules Verne's characters are very similar to Lancelot of Arthurian lore. He has all these similar stories, and this may seem totally random. Why Arthurian lore? Well, I'm reading a book about the Plantagenets. They ruled England for 500 years. I think I just said that in the intro. Arthur was huge. They made him popular. Like the third Plantagenet made these claims that he was descended of Arthurian lore. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Arthurian lore has very close ties to the monarchy. There's something more to this. I don't know what it is, but I just found that interesting. And also, just so you guys, if you didn't know, the Plantagenets were in like 1033. William the Conqueror was his descendant was like Henry I, and that was the Plantagenet dynasty for 500 years. And this would end until the first country with a central bank, the Netherlands, funded William of Orange to overthrow his father-in-law, the last Plantagenet. And they have a lot of themes, Jules Verne's, of death and rebirth. And let's continue. Let's continue with Jules Verne symbolism that are totally coincidence. They're not conspiracies. He had a character called Clovis Dardanus. Verne's captain, Bugachara, has the same name, Bugachara. What's that name from? Well, it's the mountain that's next to Rennes-le-Chateau. Where's Rennes-le-Chateau? What's the importance of that? Oh, well, not much. Just that the Cathars, the Priory of Sion, the Cathars, these Gnostic sects that believe Jesus Christ's bloodline continued, where they would have huge orgies, and they believed in the archons and all that stuff. They were eventually had a crusade against them from the Catholic Church, unfairly. That's what the world will tell you. No, they were sacrificing. They were doing crazy things, huge orgies, heresies, blasphemy. And this is where the descendant of Jesus Christ, Sarah, that's the name, where she grew up, was Rennes-le-Chateau. And Clovis, we're not done with Jules Verne yet. Clovis, do you guys know who Clovis is? I only know this because I'm big into medieval European history at the moment. Clovis was the most important leader of the Merovingian kings dynasty. What does that mean? Well, the Merovingians were none other than the groups that ran the Frankish Empire, who were a part of Jesus's bloodline. So Jules Verne uses the mountain name next to Rennes-le-Chateau, Clovis, the big king of Jesus' bloodline, Reform Club, Arthurian, Phileas Fogg. So Jules Verne, I love his books. You see, already we have authors in pop culture using symbolism and little winks and nods. And then another character, last one about Jules Verne, Raoul the Conqueror. What are those initials, everybody? Oh, no way. RC. And what was his story? Raoul, he lived in a world where UFOs, the story has UFOs everywhere. And what do the Rosicrucians want? They want to be led by a king from the divine race that existed on this earth. It's just insane. Skeptic says Alexander the Great claimed to be a descendant of the Achilles, okay, and Julius Caesar from Venus, and the Windsor somehow from the Prophet Muhammad. I read a book. I did a show on it. Was like the Myth of the Dark Ages, and it basically talks about how Muhammad was a made-up character. Very little proof he ever existed compared to like Jesus. And that's, if you want to check that out or get the book, it's by Emmett Scott, I believe. Amazing book. Are the Scythians descendants of the adverse in the Merovingian Empire, the Scythians? I don't know. That's a good question, David. That's a really good question. I'm sorry I don't know that answer. I never want to be the guy that has all the answers. I just read these books and try to give you guys a better understanding. So I used to think these secret societies were more like Nazi-esque, right? Like eugenicists, whatever, not the normal stuff that we talk about the Nazis. And the more that I read, the more that I see this is so wrong. That is why I hate that theory that the Nazis are secretly running the world. I've tried to debate one guy who has a big Twitter account, Drew Tang. I don't know if I'm sure you guys have seen him on Twitter if you're on Twitter. And he has like this big thread, like how Nazis are running the world. Jim Marrs had the same theory in like 2003. That was acceptable in 2003, not acceptable in 2022. If you think it's Nazis that are running the world, show me one similarity between the Nazis and what are besides surveillance, besides some eugenics. The Nazis kicked out the central banks. They were extremely nationalistic. They did try to remove religion. Do you think that these same people that were so nationalistic that hated globalism are running their world today? Well, you could have fooled me there. Nazis, who do they promote? Oh, the Aryan race. Who is trashed on more than anybody in the world? White people. So no, I don't believe the Nazis are running our country. Yes, did they come over in Operation Paperclip? Yeah. Did they have any loyalty to America? Very few of them did. I just hate that theory. Just like the Titanic theory that it was sunk to get rid of the guys that were Astor and Guggenheim were standing up against the Federal Reserve. Astor family funded the Royal Institute of International Affairs. That's the British CFR. Please take 2 seconds to research that. Most of our government agencies are a product of Operation Paperclip. Agreed. Totally agree. But would you guys agree with this? Would you say that Nazis are running America? Surveillance, absolutely. But very few other similarities. I hate that theory. I don't know how I got off on that tangent. And so Bacon believed in the freedom of thought, religious choice, tolerance of religions. And this sounds great, right? This sounds like what America was built on, freedom to do what you believe. And that sounds great. But you see, this libertarian attitude is dangerous. And why is it dangerous? Because if you stand for nothing, you will fall for anything. They want you to have religious freedom. They want you to have spirituality. Because all this thing, there aren't a set rules. If you find a charismatic leader of your new age group who's telling you, oh, blah, 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 you're going to follow what they say, as opposed to this stuff that's written down. You understand. So religious freedom, it sounds great. I don't believe anyone should be persecuted for the religious beliefs, but this is why Bacon, he was a new ager of the time or before the time. And also, if you don't believe in the time, right and wrong, dualistic. There is no real right or wrong. That's what, without following this morality of Christianity and Islam, you can see how your morals could be messed with. Your spiritual, you should free love, bang everything that has a vagina or a penis. Is that really good, or is that carnal good? Nazism really doesn't. All right. Thank you, Carl. And thank you, David. So I'm glad I'm not the only one that doesn't, that believes that theory is total HS, horse poop. Invisible college. So Rosicrucian Enlightenment in England would include influential alchemists of the day, and this would become known as the Invisible College. So you had Sir Walter Raleigh, John Dee, Ashmole, Robert Boyle, Isaac Newton. All of these men, very popular, but are they really invisible? No, you knew they were invisible. You knew they were invisible. You knew who they were. They were very popular, powerful, influential people. So the real invisibles were people that were bigger dogs than them. And Nestor Helen Webster talks about this in Isaac Weishaupt's letters that he was writing in code to his people. Both him and his number 2 guy would talk about this other character who they called by a code name. I can't remember his name, who was giving Isaac what to do. So the invisibles, it's just like the same thing. We know these names, but the real invisibles, you don't know their names. We don't really know who the real bad guy is because we would never know their name. 50 years later, though, the Invisible College would turn in 1660 would turn into the Royal Society, which still exists today. There's a plaque that says Bacon as its founder, and the Royal Society would have inventors like astronomer Paul Nelly. He was an expert at grinding glass for telescopes. So Royal Society, who's practicing occult rituals, magic, and here again, we have another tie between science, NASA, not NASA, but astronomy, tying to secret societies and the cult worship. Sorry. Robert Flood, he's another member. He was the son of the Queen Elizabeth's treasurer and served in court with Bacon. He was educated at Oxford, where he found out about esoteric traditions. He was not a Rosicrucian, but he endorsed their goals, and he will be much big later on in further episodes. But the English and French at this point, they had the 100 Years' War. I mean, they've just been fighting since like the 1100s. They've just had battles. And also, if you guys didn't know this, so the Norman kings, the Vikings who became the Normans, who ran England, Normandy, all these other places in Europe. Normandy, this was all part of England's empire for a while. Once the Plantagenets took over and kicked out the Norman, or the real, they were descendants of Normans, but once William the Conqueror came in and got rid of all of the a Leif Erikson type name, the Plantagenets. So they owned land in France. They had a huge empire, France and Britain. I never knew that, though. That was insane. But so not very amicable, right? These two countries hate each other. France was struggling. They asked for cash from England. Do you think England gave it to them? No. But you know who did? Robert Flood. He was sending money because he had esoteric secret society connections that were much more important than patriotism. Being the treasurer, he sent money to the French. Also, he was tutored by French aristocrats who are Catholics, which another reason why he was not a Rosicrucian, because the Templars became the Rosicrucians. They hated the Catholic Church. Catholic Church hated them. Flood also would write a book defending Rosicrucianism, saying, I'm not a member, guys, but this was a very normal for many men who was suspected of being part of the Invisibles. And also Robert Flood participated in the translation of the King James Version of the Bible, which, who else did that? Francis Bacon. The 100 Years' War was all about that, dude. Yeah, the 100 year. It was. My next topic I'm going to audiobook and maybe do a show is the 30 Years' War, because there is something to this. That's the first official really world war. Germany again. Germany is in 3 world wars. The Illuminati, the Rothschilds. There's another secret society Odd Man and I were talking about. All come from Germany. And there's something there. There's something there. But yeah, so he translated the Bible. He's buddies with Bacon, and multiple Rosicrucian factions. One, the guys. See, like I said, there was all these factions of Rosicrucianisms under the umbrella, and the one was called the Guys, which is a trick, right? Guys means like trickery. They were tied to the Prior of Sion. Robert Boyle, who I said he did something with pressure and cans or whatever. He was a grandmaster of the guys. So he was a Rosicrucian. And so this connects the Rosicrucians with the Priory of Sion. And the Priory of Sion, guys, if you haven't seen the Da Vinci Code, it's the secret group, Da Vinci, Nicholas Flamel, all these, Isaac Newton, were all leaders of the Priory of Sion, all holding the secret that Jesus Christ had a bloodline that's still alive to this day. So Freemasonry, Royal Society, Priory, the Templars, the sister order of the Templars, the Cistercians, and Rosicrucians, they're all connected, which shouldn't be created. And Skeptic, yeah, there's an RC center in California. Wars are generated as sacrifice machines. I like that. And it's said, Jeremy says, that if someone calls himself a Rosicrucian, they aren't a Rosicrucian. Interesting. I think that sounds about fair. And so the Cistercian order, that was sisters. Oh, wait, and a prominent symbol of the Royal Society. Get this. The Invisibles became the Royal Society, Freemasonry. What was their symbol? Oh, it was a letter G, representing, of course, the glory of God. That's what the G stands for. It had nothing to do with geometry at all. Nothing to do with that. This is also in Freemasonry, if you weren't aware. And then Johannes Kepler, the sun guy, the Earth whatever. Right? That's what Kepler did, or was that Copernicus? Kepler did something with astronomy. I think the sky. He wrote, geometry existed before creation. Therefore, geometry is a God himself. You guys, I'm sure, are seeing these connections here. Geometry. St. Bernard, the Cistercians, the sisters of the Templars, he was the guy that famously got the Templar order established by talking to the Pope. And he's a monk. And he said, God is height, width, and depth. Does that sound like something a good Christian monk would say? That he says God is just geometry. Population of those we don't speak. Oh God, JC. I can't read that. I can't. Let me see. Wait. The fastest, whereas they increase in the rest of Europe. Who knows what that means? But interesting. We don't increase. Oh, the population. Read the comments if you're interested. That's a great. Jeez, you don't need to apologize, dude. Thank you. It's really interesting. So I wish I could say it, but YouTube. We got only so many things we can do here. Yes. DM me the stats. I would love that. And pure thought, according to these, emits from the mind of God, and only those with higher understanding can talk to God. Are they talking to God? Or who are they talking to? Somebody else? St. Bernard, the guy who got the Templars established from the Pope, the Cistercian, also was fascinated. Listen to this. The guy who got the Templars established was fascinated with promoting the feminine aspect of the divine. Now, where do we see that today? What is promoted incessantly started by the Rot? Feminism. Let's bring the, toxic masculinity, femininity. We worship the feminine. We worship strong women or whatever, feminists, stand up, blah, 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 exhausting things. And it's just funny that this guy who got the Templars, the Gnostics, this monk, believed that we needed to push out the feminine. I just found that fascinating as well. And he was born in Burgundy, France, and doing all he could to bring women's power back to bring women's power into the church. He authored prayers to the Mother of God, made pilgrimages to his site. And what does the Catholic Church often promote? Queen Mary. Even though the Queen of Heaven is what they call her, that's said in the Bible in Jeremiah, do not use that. That is a pagan worship. The Jesuits, who did they pray to? The Black Madonna. We can go on and on and on of all this rise of feminine worship. I think I have toothpaste there. Okay. And yeah. Just I found that so intriguing. He was doing all he could to bring women's power. Oh, okay. He authored prayers. Yeah. and closer look at the authorship of the Rosicrucian text. So this is the thing we're going to see over and over and over again in the show. But in 1603, there's a book called The Chemical Wedding. It was written by Johann Valentin, except the only issue with Johann here is he denied his whole life that he had never written this book. And if he did write this book, he wouldn't have put his name on it because it would have cost him his career. And this book had traditions from Hermeticists, Gnostics, Paulicians, Bogomils, Cathars. Johann who wrote this huge occult book, was 17 at the time of the book. A little deep for a 17-year-old, even in those days. Much more likely written by our two boys, Francis Bacon or John Dee, and they put his name on it. And we're going to get into that as a common practice as we continue. And basically, this book, though, was an allegorical description of a wedding between the mythical king and queen. And 1630, like, of these magical king and queen, these occultists. And what do you know? 10 years later, there's a wedding that took place of exactly that. The British Liz Stuart of Bohemia and Frederick V of Germany got married. And at this time, Germany was a collection of states ruled by the Holy Roman Empire. And when he married her, shocking, guys, shocking. When Frederick married Liz Stuart, she wore a rose, and the ceremony was vastly unique from a Christian ceremony. Archbishop of Canterbury, the top kind of Catholic guy at the time, in or the top religious figure at the time. He had a lot of power, especially during the Plantagenets. He wrote that he objected to the ceremony, called it a pagan ceremony. The guests, though, that didn't seem to mind. Who were the guests? Oh, none other than Bacon, Johann Andrea, and other Rosicrucians. And the Rosicrucians had been invisible totally until this wedding. But Frederick and his bride exposed it to the German citizens. And Frederick, he was we talked about him in a recent episode. He's instrumental. Oh, in Secret Society Subversive Movements. He is instrumental in getting Freemasonry and other secret societies established. And it wasn't long before, though, that Rosicrucianism started running rampant in Germany. After the death of Rudolph II, who I believe was a Habsburg, of course, friends with John Dee, the nobles chose a successor as Frederick. And his court was filled with alchemists, occultists, just like Queen Elizabeth, Robert Flood, who was a student of Dee, who we talked about, and many other Rosicrucians. And then he actually moved his court to Prague, which became a mecca of alchemists, scientists, astrologers, and occultists. And Frederick, like I said, would be instrumental in Freemasonry. And his goal was the same of Bacon's: create a utopian Atlantis. But days after this guy took the crown, Ferdinand II, a Habsburg, took up arms and disposed the king. Oh, thank you, Jared. I thought so. Archbishop of Canterbury is the effective head of the Anglican Church, besides the monarch. And before it was the Anglican, it was the Catholic Church. If you guys didn't know, that's why the Plantagenets, they had a huge issue. It's a long story. Read the book it's a great book. So the Habsburgs took over and disposed the king. They're Catholics. And the Catholics outnumbered the Protestants. The Catholic Habsburgs would then gain rule. Frederick and Elizabeth fled. And this would become known as the 30 Years' War. It was the First World War. Like I just said, it was fought in Africa. It was fought in Asia. And the Habsburgs, they were allied with Spanish Habsburgs. Did you guys know that a Habsburg was the guy that just was doing the New World trips? That was a Habsburg descendant. And France was on their side, Catholic. Italy was on their side, Catholic. Denmark, all were on the Catholic Habsburg side, and which beat the hell out of Protestant Germany. It ends with Habsburg's constitutional rule, which lasted until World War I. And this was the most devastating conflict that the world had seen until World War I. German states, they lost half of their population in the 30 Years' War. And 250,000 of them fled to the Netherlands. Much of the Protestant population in Germany, at least the nobles, were Rosicrucians. Many of these Protestant Rosicrucians that fled after Habsburgs took control, they would go to the New World settle in New York and Pennsylvania. This would become known as the Burned Over District, which I did an episode a long time ago on the Burned Over District. But basically, the Burned Over District. Let's find some people who were there in the whoever started the Quakers, or a Quaker leader. This one lady who said she could walk on water. I forget her name. This is a hilarious story. She's like a cult leader, essentially. She claims she can walk on water. She goes to the water. Everyone's around, her whole congregation. And she says, "Do you believe I can walk on this water?" And they all say, "Yeah, you can do it." And then she goes, "Well, then I don't even have to." Now that's David Blaine-esque, dude. Maybe that's where David Blaine got his ideas. Martin Luther exposed the vast conspiracy of Luciferians running the world. These society's great work is to smash all remnants of the Protestant Reformation. Interesting, David, that's your theory. See, I don't know where I fall, but I've seen that many people blame the Protestant Reformation as opening Christianity to all this liberalism. So that's an interesting that's your take. Very interesting. I don't have an answer because I don't know enough about anything like that. But yeah, so the Burned Over District, who lived there? I told the lady with the watch, Joseph Smith and his family were from the Burned Over District. They were treasure hunters. They would look at this obsidian rock to communicate with beings to find treasure. Why is that interesting? Many of our pirates, Drake, all these guys, Columbus, they would do the same thing. They would try and channel to find this treasure. John Dee did the same thing. So I just found that interesting. The Burned Over District, though, was for like many. Blavatsky visited. She was running where you sit in a room, you channel something. It was huge. It was huge in the Burned Over District. And this is why, because all these Protestant Rosicrucians, they're Protestant. Let's use it like that. Just like the same way Kabbalists are not Jews, right? Or same way how the Ishmaelis are not Muslims or Islamic. And so these groups would become the Amish, the Mennonites, the Moravians. And I actually live right by Bethlehem, or I grew up right by Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which is where the Moravians settled. And so I had no idea that they were German Protestant, possibly many of them Rosicrucians. In 1623, Rosicrucianism found its way to England when mysterious placards started appearing, and some of these writings claimed invisibility was a protection provided to the Rosicrucians by God. So what exactly is Rosicrucianism? Freemasonry, which is hierarchical, Rosicrucianism is much harder to pin down your leaders. Modern Freemasonry is modified Rosicrucianism, and this is because Bacon created Rosicrucianism, and Freemasonry had existed in England and Europe a little bit, very much in England for many years, but it was truly just a brotherhood of stoneworkers. And we'll get into that, I think, in a second. But basically, because you couldn't really travel back in those days, you were viewed as a spy or evil person. So the Masons, they needed to be able to identify themselves because they're building these things, and that's why they started these lodges before they were infiltrated officially. After Bacon created Rosicrucianism, and then he started creating the Freemasonry and using it as a scapegoat. Joseph Smith was a Freemason. I read that before. The Inner Order of the Hermetic Order of the Golden. Jeremy, why are you ruining it, dude? Why are you spilling my next thing where I'm going to get to say, get this? Jeremy, I'm blocking you out of the chat. You do that again. For people listening, I'm smiling. I love Jeremy, and I hope he knows I'm joking. So I'm not going to finish reading your damn quote, Jeremy. All right, knock it off. But yeah, so supposedly though, Rosicrucians, they said their tradition dates back, like I said, to the Pharaoh Akhenaten. Others say the Gnostics of the early church. Others the Templars, but all agree that Bacon and John Dee organized the esoteric tradition. And some also say the Priory of Sion, which monitored, protected the bloodline of Jesus Christ, was tied to the Templars, which it probably was, which gave birth to Rosicrucianism. So Templars, Priory of Sion, and I say this all the time, these secret societies, they believe the same thing. They just use different names. It's a wider net to cast. The same way New Agers today, they're wrapping people up through tantric like yoga, which isn't inherently bad, but you're opening yourselves up, or manifestation, or I can't think of other examples, but these are just different ideas to get you sucked into the New Age beliefs. And Nick Canton said something very fascinating. I cannot remember who predicted it, but an author in the 1800s predicted that eventually there's going to be two classes. One, like the bug people, which I think was the phrase he used, and another of these New Age secrets, the love and light, like that John Brishan always talks about kind of group. And that's exactly what's happening. We have the trust the science, eat the bugs, and then we also have these New Agers, which have infiltrated the beliefs, at least have infiltrated like right-wing Twitter. It's everywhere, and a lot of it is good, like eating healthy and organic, but nature worship is coming back in this. It's all, we can see these two classes of people forming, which is the goal. And the priory, they had Da Vinci, Flood, Boyle, Nicholas Flamel, Geoffrey de Bouillon, the first king of Jerusalem after the only successful crusade. He met with brothers of the Red Cross, not the Rose. This was in 1100, late 1000s, late thousands. Who were the brothers of the Red Cross? Well, they were a fraternity that were Gnostics. They said they descended from the tradition of the Zoroastrianism. Canaanite religion went everywhere, and it went it went into Mayan culture, it went into Incan culture, where they would take hallucinogens to chop out a beating heart. It would go into all these different religions in different locations. There's a reason why people were sacrificing children to these gods they were talking to. Does that sound like a kind God? No, it's this Canaanite religion that infiltrated and spread like a virus. The Secret and Celestine Prophecies were books that promoted New Age. The Secret, another one, along with The Alchemist, which I read. Very Baskin Robbins of occultism. Hilarious. Baskin Robbins. Why is Baskin Robbins in Dunkin' Donuts? I haven't seen many anymore, but at Dunkin' Donuts, they're not known for their speed, especially since post-COVID. I mean, you can't even go inside. But who's going to get a donut and ice cream? When do they combine? What was the idea of that? Every church has been infiltrated by the enemy. Yes. Agreed, David. Agreed. So you had the first king of the guy that started the Knights Templars, who let him dig under King Solomon's temple, where they found all these ancient maps and relics and gold and treasure from the Phoenicians. He was also buddies with another Gnostic group called the Red Cross. I'm sure it has nothing to do with one or the other. And then there was another early document. The Medici family also was huge in the occult world. And I didn't go into that in my pirate episode, but in Florence, it was secretly this occult hotspot. I mean, this is during the Inquisition, the 1500s, and the Medici family, they translated a book called the Corpus Hermeticum. Oh, I'm sure that doesn't mean Hermeticism, which encourages magical arts while remaining devoted to Christian scripture. I think that's a little contradictory, because I'm pretty sure in the Bible it says don't do magic, but who knows? And then Christian Rosicrucian, who was probably mythical, but his story is that in 1393, he went to the East to studying with the Arab and Persian sages of the Sufi and the Zoroastrian masters. He returned in Europe in 1407, founded Rosicrucianism, and he lived to be 106 years old, which became a very occultic secret number in Rosicrucianism. And this is fascinating, possible sources of the name of the Rosicrucians. It's believed to be derived by Rosalind. Rosalind. Now, what does this remind me of? Oh, the Scottish Norman Viking nobleman prince, Henry Sinclair, who says Rosalind is a feminine name meaning rose in Gaelic, while Ross is a male name that means rose color. So you could either go Rosalind, or Ross, which both mean rose color and rose. And then Lynn, Roslyn, means generation. So, or means generation or line. So, red line, rose line. And to top this whole, to bring this totally together, Roslyn Chapel, totally by accident, falls on an ancient ley line that was called the Rose Line. Soundboard that I don't use. Boo, 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 boo. Isn't that crazy though? So that's one way possible. The St. Clair family, who was, I told you, they started the Templars. So there's a French branch, that's the St. Clair, Santa Maria. That's why originally it was supposed to be Santa Clara, Columbus's boat, for the St. Clairs. So they have a French St. Clair and then the Scottish family members, the Sinclairs. In Scotland, you have the Rosalind Chapel. So what did the France St. Clairs do? Oh, well, they had built a church called the Saint Sulpice, which is in Paris, which, as all Christian churches do, they have an obelisk at their church. That's a sundial that marks celestial events. And the light part of this sundial on the clock is called what? The Rose Line. And it is also located on another ley line. Dude. And the Church of the Saint Sulpice is named for Saint Sulpice, who had a high standing with none other than the Merovingian kings, whose feast day was January 17th. Okay, that may seem, he was friends with Merovingians. Why is the feast day important? Oh, well, none other than there was a Saint Rosalind who shares the same feast day. Do you see all these, how they got this name? There's all these different possibilities, but what are the odds of this? Rosalind Chapel, Rose Line, falling on an ancient ley line. Their sister family, the St. Clairs, built a church on a ley line with an obelisk that was called also the Rose Line. I just found that, again, conspiracy or just a coincidence? Clearly, this is a conspiracy and not just a coincidence. But yeah, it was a sundial. Oh, and so that Saint Rosalind, just hilarious, shares the same feast day with the saint of Saint Sulpice, Sulpice is the church is named after. Saint Rosalind was also in the Merovingian court with Sulpice. Dad was a well-known alchemist. Pretty weird for a nun to have a dad that's an alchemist. And her brother was named Helios. What's Helios? It's the name that invokes the sun god. Captured, and he was eventually captured, her brother, and it was put in prison on the island of Rhodes. Okay, that doesn't sound too cool. All right, what does that mean? Well, of course, the island of Rhodes. What does Rhodes mean in Greek? Rose. Boo, 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 boo. And the island was called, of course, the island was called where Rhodes, the Rose Island, was also another name, was called Island of the Sun. Rosalind miraculously freed him. And so this all sounds like a fairy tale. It's not. It's accepted as historical truth. So all of these ways that they're playing on words, who love to play on words, who love to write in cryptic codes and ciphers, Francis Bacon, you can see why this is the name he picked. Okay. Maybe Sinclair's didn't name it this reason. Maybe St. Clair's didn't name like their churches and all this stuff. They didn't know maybe that a secret society called the Rosicrucians was going to be created, or maybe they did, and they did it on purpose. So the tradition of Rosicrucianism was that ancient man had group consciousness, okay? Little privacy, and being an individual was challenged. You were a member. You were just a cog in the machine. Oh, what do they do to us now? Oh my God. What are the odds of that the Rosicrucian belief had the same one that our elites do today? And this started to change in the Middle Ages when people started becoming educated, gaining independence from from the church and state. The Cathar religion was an example of this. The religion actually, and the word religion in Latin, I don't know, whatever word, the word it stems from actually means to bind. So to be free from such boundaries, no institution or religion can have authority. So then you have spiritual freedom. And this is the true quest of the Grail and the Rosicrucians, to bring down the authority of the church. And this is why, like, I know the Catholic Church is so corrupt, but it seems like in a lot of these, at this time, they were corrupt. You know, you had the Borgias and the Medici popes and things like that. But I think, you know, there's always evil people at the top. But I think as a general rule, these people are trying, the Catholic Church was trying to stop these people. And that's why do we only hear about priests that are abusing kids? We never hear about we don't say, you know, they say, oh, the Catholic Church is a bunch of pedophiles, when the percentages are at like 2% compared to the amount of abuse that happens in public school, the amount of abuse that happens in other religions that I'm not going to say, in Judaism and Muslim abuse happens there. But where do we always focus on when we hear pedophilia? Oh, that's right, the Catholic Church. So all these things, they just make me think, you know, they make me think. So Rosicrucianism, it's the ignition that sparks the light. Oh, the light bringer. You see, devil, Lucifer, whatever, brings self-awareness. St. John the Baptist, who is a Gnostic, he is their God, he is their Jesus, John the Baptist. He was depicted a lot with a dove. John, being the Templar patron saint, the dove symbol was heavily used in Templar and Rosicrucians iconography. Also, John the baptism is an alchemical process, you know, life, rebirth. And Rosicrucians' goal is alchemy, but not just turning lead to gold, but to be able to perceive reality on another level, to see a pattern within another and have the ability to be aware rather than unconscious. I just keep thinking I got toothpaste and it's backwards on this thing. Okay, I did. Guys, come on. You guys are my friends. Could you say, Jack, you got toothpaste on your lip? I just spent an hour and 17 minutes looking like a fool. But yeah, so I just found that also interesting because it just reminds me again of all these this meditation, trying to open doors, trying to get to another reality, whether it's use of drugs, of schizophrenics, of hallucinogens, and this manifestation, this weird worship, this new age worship. That's what the Rosicrucians want. They wanted to hit this level of reality where truth was, where the angels or these angelic beings, which are really demons. Skeptics said they didn't notice. Good. Phew, dude. One time when I was in middle school, you guys know how self-conscious you are in middle school. My dad, he's very a very kind man, and this is how much it scarred me. In 6th grade, I sneezed before going on the bus and I said bye to him. And I get to the bus stop and like this girl that was in my neighborhood who, you know, we were 6th grade, you know, we liked each other or whatever. I had a huge booger, like huge, on my chin right here. And she said, I think you have something there. That scarred me. I was 20 something years ago. So, all right. I know you guys don't care about these stories, but we can't just do all facts. And so this ability though to access this new level of knowledge, whatever, this literally sounds like the love and light, new age wacko stuff. Does it not to you? It sounds exactly like that to me. And the rose light needs to reach from the heart to the brain using the third eye. And the heart, listen to your heart, all those things. This is advised against in the Bible because the heart lies. It's very confused, you know. And so I found it funny that the Rosicrucians wanted you to use your heart, so that they pushed that. Let me have a sip real quick. We're getting close to done. I hope you guys are enjoying. I think it's a good. I love this book. I'm fast. I love this time period right now. Pirates and So adepts, they can complete this by using the spiritual forces, which are all around them, but are higher planes of reality, and regular folks are not aware of them. So most simple, the Rosicrucian's a free thinker whose spiritual values separate from his religious values, leading closest to deism. What does it sound like? I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. So are the Rosicrucians. So you're in great company. You're in a secret society that's trying to cull the population and turn you into a robot or a demon-possessed schizophrenic. So, hey, you're in good company. So keep being spiritual and not religious and see how far that gets you. Because again, when you are open, you should always be open to new ideas. You should always be questioning. You should always be discerning. But when you don't have a set of rules or morals that you take seriously, you will do whatever, you know? Thank you, skeptic. See, I needed that. The Bible calls the heart treacherous and desperate, and the Rosicrucians wanted you to listen to your heart. The Knights Temple, let's see. I always do 10 pages of notes, and I'm like, I can rock through 10. And then I just get, because I love all you guys so much in the chat, and you're always adding good info. I've got to stop doing. I should realize I can't do 11 pages in under like an hour, 30 minutes. It's just too much. So we got a little bit more, and we'll save part 2. Maybe I'll just do it tomorrow. I'll figure it out. So how do the Knights Templar relate to Rosicrucian tradition? Well, the Templar orders, they were interested in magic, alchemy, Kabbalah. They were the hidden heirs of the Templars, the Rosicrucians, and they devised methods to pass some sacred knowledge through Freemasonry, through the Rosicrucian tradition, the Invisible College, which became the Royal Society. So the point I'm bringing up with the Invisibles and the Royal Society is you have scientists that are also probably members of secret societies, but this is already, we're seeing this in the 1700s, that science, there's a reason why the Catholic Church was afraid of it. It wasn't because they didn't want you to learn. It's because these scientists that were leading our world were not Christians. They weren't. So what are they? Science is to take place. And think of climate change. Hey, Amit, what's up, my buddy, man? What's going on, dude? But the science, you can see it's a religion. If you step like global warming, climate change, whatever, if you question what the science tells you, you're a heretic. You're blasphemous. You are like a devil worshiper in church. And that's scary. And you can see why. Listen to the experts. And they did that then, and they're doing that now. So the Templars, though, they applied sophisticated knowledge from the East, from like the Assassins and all these Muslim secret societies, and they brought it in architecture, engineering, and many of the Templars would become masons, actual bricklayers. And their bridges, cathedrals still exist to this day. And to build these cathedrals, you had to employ a master architect and men who could work with stone and mortar. And these men would come from far to work on projects that would take years to complete. And so in this era, I think I mentioned this, traveling was like almost kind of forbidden. It like you couldn't really travel, and it wasn't really danger wise. It was more like, who are you? What don't you have to tend the fields? And so, but Masons had to. So they didn't want to be robbed. They didn't want to be arrested. So what they would do is they needed to be housed, fed, and protected. So they formed lodges and secret handshakes and secret code words and symbols so they could travel safely and identify fellow Masons. And I brought this up and get food and shelter. I brought this up. That's not that outrageous to me. These original Masons, though many of them were Templars, it was somewhat secret. They was very secret. They wouldn't share their secrets of how to build things, but they weren't doing occult rituals and things like that. Yeah, scientists are the priests of the secular religion. Yeah, scientism. I 180 million% agree. And they formed lodge. And so a Freemason lodge, which was mostly Templars, was what for it was kind of really started like a lodge of sorts in the 14th century. And the king at the time allowed it to go because he was, he won the cathedrals. I don't know, but it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't the real Masons. And so this system is still in place today. This became our current trade unions. And in 1307, as we know, Templars were kicked out of France. They go underground. They go to Scotland to help Robert the Bruce. They go to Sicily and Portugal. Fellow travelers, do they refer to that? I don't know, skeptic. If you say it, I believe you. So I've never read that, but that sounds legitimate to me. Jeremy says, we also have a more sure word of prophecy. Oh, 2 Peter 1:19. We also have a more sure word of whereunto ye do well that ye take heed, as unto a light that shineth in a dark place until the day dawn and the day star arise in your hearts. Jeremy, can you elaborate why you put that? I would love to hear that. Oh, see, David's heard it, skeptic. If you two say it, it's true. I believe it. And so the St. Clair family of France, and the Sinclair family of Scotland were one of the same. And so in Scotland, they brought Rosslyn Chapel. France, they brought the St. Sulpice. And supposedly the Rosslyn Chapel was named for the Rosy Stream, that flowed from the Christ's wounds when crucified. That's what I would name a church after. I would name it Big Gaping Holes in Jesus's Hand. Just like, going along this same logic. Or let's think, Holes in Head Chapel. Feet with Nails Church. See, as a Christian, is that what you would like to name let's name it Rosslyn, because all that blood that was coming out of Jesus when they poked him. What do you think? Great idea. Yeah, I love it. So we know that's not the end. We just went over all the possible reasons why it's named the Rosicrucians. And near the chapel was the HQ of the Templars in Scotland. This again, and we talked about this last episode. St. Clair traveled to the New World because he had Templar maps that were Phoenician maps. He buried it in Oak Island, on and on and on. Go listen to that episode if you want to learn more. They're a fascinating family, fascinating chapel. Yeah, amazing. They're integral in Freemasonry and the Templars. And then the 19th century, you had a huge resurgence of Rosicrucian society. Jules Verne, as we already talked about earlier, and high-ups in Rosicrucian society created a new order. It was called, and this is who ruined it? Who broke it? Jeremy? In the 18th century, Jules Verne and other Rosicrucians created a new Order of the Golden Dawn. So Rosicrucianism created Order of the Golden Dawn, having 144 members. I don't know if you might have heard this guy's name before. I don't know. He's pretty obscure. Aleister Crowley would eventually, he was a magician. If you guys didn't know who Aleister Crowley is, Jack Parsons was his buddy, and he created the Order of the Golden Dawn. And another guy was Bram Stoker. Who is Bram Stoker? Another member of the older Order of the Golden Dawn? Oh, none other than the author of who wrote Dracula, which contains secret rituals of the Rosicrucian. Let's see, drinking blood, crosses, burn them, Gnostics. So we can see the ties between Dracula and the Order of the Golden Dawn. I didn't know that. So again, we have all these, H.G. Wells, Jules Verne, Aldous Huxley, and there's so many. These guys are all members of Robinson Crusoe, whoever wrote that. I know that's the name of the book. All members of these Rosicrucian secret societies writing Shakespeare. And that's, that's next episode. A secret way to ask someone if they're a Freemason, or are you traveling? Are you a traveling man? Coffins too, Skull and Bones. Ooh, Carl, yes. Hey, Jeremy, also a secret way, if you guys didn't know, a secret way to find out if you're a fellow alcoholic, you'll say, are you a friend of Bill's? And so if you're ever in the airport or anywhere and you'll say, would your, Jack Allen, your friend Bill W is reaching out. Well, you're a friend of Bill W's. Would you please report to Gate 7 to meet him? That's if you're an alcoholic or a drug addict and you're really struggling that day and you're at the airport, you're supposed to go to the person and say, could you say, could Bill W please come to the, so it sounds like Masons also, or might have infiltrated the J.D. Salinger. I think you're right too. Is there an old song, I Was Born a Traveling Man? Ooh. And I wouldn't be surprised, shoot for nothing, because we just went over all these authors that are secret societies, and our current celebrities do the same exact thing. History rhymes over and over and over and over again. And Rosicrucianism was not just limited to Europe. By the time of the American Revolution, the organization known as and so this answer this question for me, Scottish Rite Freemasonry, that was a Rosicrucian offshoot. It was brought over during the Civil War, and the Fraternitas Rosa Crucis was founded, and we'll have more on that group later. So again, Order of the Golden Dawn, Scottish Rite Freemasonry. These are all Rosicrucian beliefs created by Rosicrucianism, maybe again to cast a wider net, or because you need to change your name ever so often because Rosicrucianism became relatively more popular or well known in Europe, and you need to change your name to stay. I knew Carl would get it. Hell yeah, Carl. Carl knew it. The Allman Brothers. That's awesome, Carl. Good job. Good job. And we'll get more on those later. So, yeah, I think we're going to stop it there. I'll do another one. I was supposed to have a guest tomorrow. I might just keep doing this and keep rocking on this show. But then, so the next episode is Sir Francis Bacon, who definitely was Queen Elizabeth's kid. This book doesn't say it was Francis Drake, like we talked about. It was another guy who Robert Dudley, who impregnated the Queen. But we're going to next up, this might be a few series because there's a lot of different topics. So this is going to go over Sir Francis Bacon, what his job was, what his power was, Shakespeare, who wrote Shakespeare, and John Dee. That's the three topics for the next chapters. And dude, it just keeps getting better and better. David, American Red Cross. What do? They're spies. They were created after the Bolshevik Revolution. Dude, guys, we are making some serious ground here. Rosicrucianism, everyone blames Freemasonry, and I'm not of that camp anymore. What happened to your videos on your channel? Dude, I take off, like if I do like a show with John or like whoever, I usually take those shows and I just keep my shows on. I'll keep Nick Hinton's on for now, but because the people, I know I'm not going to say anything that's going to kick my channel off. And most people, they care, but they're a little more free with what they say. I don't talk about healthcare really and things like that, so I don't want to get it removed. But yeah, so next episode, which I might just do tomorrow, if you guys are around and you want to hang out, Sir Francis Bacon, how he wrote Shakespeare, and other people that wrote Shakespeare, John Dee and his history, who he was, how he found his way, why history and science doesn't remember him, even though he was just as smart. And we'll talk about Sir Walter Raleigh. See, this book is like the perfect second book from the Pirates episode. Yes, Jeremy. So Francis Bacon absolutely wrote many Shakespeare stories, but there was other Rosicrucians that were writing more. And wait till you guys hear that story. Just wait. Ooh, perfect last thing to end on. There are 1,000 organizations all aligned against Jesus Christ. Damn, David. Show. Boom. I love it. John Brisham is radioactive. He is, dude. He's a wild card. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get. Oh, in a hardcover edition, there's a transparency overlay of Bacon over a portrait Shakespeare. Guys, we're going to destroy Shakespeare. Destroy it. The guy was illiterate. He could only sign his name. The only writings we have him 6 times. None of the signatures are the same. He was the son of a butcher. So in that time, he was a butcher's apprentice. Not many butcher apprentices knew how to read and write in the 1500s. We're going to destroy Shakespeare, guys. And the symbolism in Shakespeare, all Rosicrucian symbolism. All coded words. Last thing, Francis Bacon, he translated the King James Version of the Bible. Listen to this, the 46 word, and I believe Psalms, the 46 word, shake. 46th last word, spear. Boom, boom, boom. Crazy, right? So guys, I'm Jack Allen. Go listen to my Nick Hinton episode. The quality kind of sucks because I screwed it up, but it was an awesome. If you guys like more cult things, you're going to love. He's amazing. If you guys don't know him, you need to go buy his books. Brilliant young kid. He's a brilliant guy. And thank you for coming. We had about 15 people here. I love you all so much. You guys are the best. Thank you for giving me so much fun. You guys literally make my nights, guys. I just can't thank you enough. You all rock. Yeah, you rock. If you're not following me on Twitter, any of you, please, or Instagram, goddamn message me so I can follow you. I would love to talk to you guys more. Thank you guys. The Hinton episode, you can listen to all the podcasts on all podcast platforms, and it's still on YouTube, Robert. But it's all on my podcast feed. So go follow me at Kojak Podcast. Robert, thank you for coming. I hope you learned something. Thanks for retweeting me, buddy. Seriously. And at Kojak Podcast, you want to support the show, blah, blah, blah. Oh, last thing. I'm trying to give gifts to kid conspiracy parents at Kojak Podcast, David. I'm trying to give conspiracy parents kids who don't have who can't afford Christmas gifts. So if you guys know anybody that's in our world that they're struggling because of the parasitical, usury, incestuous, disgusting banking system, please let me know. A few people have offered to give some money too. If you have extra money, you want to donate. We got another. So we took care of one person. We got his kid, a bunch of stuff. Another wonderful woman just reached out to me about her son. He wants, kid stuff, Fortnite or whatever. I don't know. And that's like $60. So I'm trying to, it's like under $100 I'll spend on the kids. But if you want to donate, please, I'm going to tweet it again. If you guys can retweet it, I would love to help as many people as I can. These parents, these kids, Christmas, they deserve gifts. So, and I would much rather give my money to them than to goddamn the Rosicrucian cross or any other stupid charity. So please, guys, I'll tweet it tomorrow. If you can retweet it or anybody, DM me at Kojak Podcast. I love y'all. God bless. I'll see you. I'm on tomorrow regardless. So I'll see you tomorrow. All right, everybody. Thanks. Bye.